Wives in real life. Cause they're wives in real life. Wives in real life.
That's us. Life, real life, real laughs and real cries. Cause they're wives in real life. Wives in real life. real. Wives in real life.
So
Real talk.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to Wives in Real Life. Episode 3. So tonight I will be interviewing my sister-in-law, Jesslynn Wimbish. I'm so excited. She is a wife, a mother of 5 girls. They're beautiful, they're intelligent, and I'm so excited to get to interview her tonight. She is definitely an inspiration to me, as she is also her own entrepreneur. Let's find out more about her business. But with that, welcome, Jesslynn.
Hi, thank you, Alicia. It's nice to be here. I'm excited. Thanks for having me. I've never done a podcast or anything before, so I'm excited for this.
Awesome. There's a first time for everything.
This is true.
All right. So you've been my sister-in-law for at least 8 years.
Yeah. July 7th.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, I got you.
We've been through a lot together. I mean, you've seen me move across the country. I've seen you move into your beautiful home.
Thank you.
We've had all of our kids together pretty much.
I know. They're close in age.
Yeah, definitely. You've taught my kids. You've taught me how to praise dance. I just think that's awesome. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your gifts, Jesslynn.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the questions because those are the fun part, right?
All right, let's get to it.
Okay,
I have a visitor with me too.
Hi, sweetie.
Here's Mackenzie, the youngest of the 5. Hopefully she'll cooperate so we can get this nice little podcast going.
Seriously. Yay. All right. So question number 1.
All right.
How are you holding up during quarantine?
Oh, I think overall I'm actually doing really well. Like most things, we have our ups and downs. There's good and there's some challenging times, but I think overall things are really going well. There's more beneficial things I think that are happening with my family than there are challenging things. So it's making it a pretty good situation for us. I'm actually kind of, I don't want to use the word dreading, but I'm like, oh, I get sad when I think that, at some point it's going to go back, but we're doing okay. We're doing good.
Awesome.
Staying busy as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, I know you'll take some of the things that you're growing and building now with you after quarantine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping too.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to be hard. Like, one of the things I'm definitely finding a plus in is like family time. Like right now, well, when my husband, when he's at work, it's a 2-hour commute for him to get home. So by the time he gets here, the girls have had dinner. They're already like sometimes in the bed or on their way to bed. And now it's like we actually sit down and have dinner together. Like, that doesn't happen. And those are some of the things that I'm kind of like sad that probably won't be able to continue because it's going to go right back to the commuting and all of that. But, I think it's definitely like taught us a lot in regards to prioritizing the family time. So when we are together, like, make the best of it. So
right.
Yeah, definitely going to try to take some learning moments from this opportunity.
That's good. Yeah, me too. So what is the hardest thing about quarantining with your husband then? I saw how hard the benefits.
Yeah. Well, it's hard is switching my mindset. I think because he's home, I tend to think he's home, but he's still working a full workday. So like I find myself sometimes like getting annoyed when all the kids are like, mom. I should be like, dad is right here too. But it's like, okay, he's working, he's on phone calls all day, or that's why he's upstairs in the room and I don't see him all day. And part of me is like, I wish he would come down and like help me clean up behind lunch or help me get dinner ready or help me do this, but he's still working. So I think that's like the challenging part.
Question number 3.
Okay.
What do you find yourself doing the most nowadays?
Does drinking wine count as a good answer?
Definitely.
Like for real, like I find myself like with the evenings and stuff being so much more casual. Like I'll start cooking dinner and I'll say like, hey Alexa, play some 90s R&B, and like I have the music going and I'm cooking and I'm like drinking my glass of wine. I realize I'm like, oh, this is like an everyday thing now. Like I used to not drink wine like that. It'd be like once a week. Now I'm like, oh, every night I'm like, oh, I got another glass. Like, okay. Like, and then sometimes I'm like, I'll walk through the kitchen and I'm like, oh, that wine looks nice. I'm like, oh, it's only 11 o'clock. Put the wine, like, no wine right now. Like, don't do that.
That's awesome. Okay, so what's the first thing you're gonna do after quarantine?
Oh, probably go to the nail shop. I think I didn't really do much before quarantine because like I work from home and I have like a long work day. And then once I'm done with work, I still have all my kids until, my husband gets home from work, which is late. So I don't generally go anywhere. So there's not much that I'm missing in regards to like, going out or going to the movies or going to dinner. Like I never really did that often, but my nails and like my eyebrows, like those are the things that I'm like, I made a priority to maintain. And so now I'm like, I took off all my gel manicures. It's just plain, but it's so like I miss like sitting in the relaxing massage chair and getting my feet
the whole
done.
experience.
Yeah, so I'll probably go and do that.
That's awesome. Yes, and don't try to do the eyebrows at home. Trust me, wax is not that easy.
Oh yeah, I have done this before, and I end up with like an eyebrow that's like a line. Like, what happened to all my eyebrow? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how long have you and Mike been married?
We made 10 years in March.
Wow.
10 years in March, yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's crazy. I know it's crazy when I think about it already. Like 10 years.
Does it feel like longer or shorter?
Shorter. Like, I feel like I don't know, actually. It's kind of weird. Like, I feel like, wow, has it been 10 years already? So I guess it makes it like, But then I feel like on the opposite side, I'm like, well, like he's been around since Kaylin I think he was at Kaylin's 3rd birthday party. And like she's 14 now. So I'm like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like it has been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the one thing that Mike does that gets on your nerves?
One? You only give me one. That's still not fair. Okay, no, for real. There's a couple. But if I had to pick one, I would say, I'm gonna use this phrase for lack of a better term. I feel like he half-ass cleans. He claims that that's not the case. He's like, no, I clean up what I see. But I'm like, well, you need to get a new prescription of those glasses because I feel like he does like what makes sense to him, but to me it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, he'll like, oh, I'll get the dishes, no worries. I'm like, cool, he's gonna help with the dishes. And then I go into the kitchen and the dishwasher started, but there's still like 8 dishes in the sink. So I'm like, well, why didn't he put all the dishes in the sink? So I stopped the dishwasher and opened it, and he was like, there's no space for them. I opened it and I'm like, if you just move this cup over here and move this plate here, you can fit all those dishes. Like, I just feel like it gets on my nerves when he helps me, but then I have to come back behind him and still redo it. I'm like, I could have just did it myself in the first place. Like, I appreciate your thought, but it's one of those things, like, if I want it done my way, I have to do it myself. So I don't know. Or he'll sweep. But when he sweeps the stuff that he sees. So he literally walks around the room with the broom, like, I'll sweep right here. And I'm like, sweep the whole floor. Like, there's still dust particles you can't see. You sweep the whole thing. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, you know what? I kind of am going to have to relate with the dishes, I don't know about that. I'm not a big dishes person. So. Sorry.
I'm not either. That's why I throw them in the dishwasher, and I will move things around. I'll be in there playing Tetris. I'm gonna make all those dishes fit in the dishwasher because I don't want to wash them.
Okay, Dr. Mario Queen.
Yeah, Dr. Mario.
Okay, well then, fair enough. So then, mommy,
I know. She won't leave me alone.
what's the one thing that you do that gets on his nerves?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty. I would say if he were to answer, he would probably say, I think he feels like I nag him a lot. And I think the nagging would probably be his response, which I could see why he feels I nag, but in my defense here, this is a true story. I generally, like, when things are going good, when I like appreciate something that he's doing, I'm not really good at patting him on the back. Like, I'm not good at being like, oh, thank you for vacuuming. Oh, that looks good. Oh, you cooked dinner? Like, I don't tend to do that because part of me is like, we can share these responsibilities. Like, do I get a thank you every time I cook dinner? Sometimes. Do I get a thank you every time I get the girls dressed? You know, it's just some things are expected, right? So I kind of feel like the same thought process, like when if we're going to church on Sunday and I go to get Mackenzie dressed and he already got her dressed, I'm like, okay, cool, I don't have to worry about that. But I don't make sure it's a point for me to say, oh, I really appreciate you getting Mackenzie dressed. I don't generally do that. So the good things, I don't acknowledge as much. But when something is a problem to me, I have to voice it, right? Because if I don't express it, then you're not going to know that it bothers me. So I'm good at vocalizing my concerns, and I'm not good at vocalizing the praise. So all he hears is, you don't do this. Why can't you do this? Can you please do more of that? Can you stop doing this? And it sounds like I'm nagging. So I get it, but I'm like, I don't feel like I'm nagging because I obviously appreciate what you do. I guess I have to be more intentional about feeding his ego and saying, yeah, thank you. I love when you did that. Like, I think that's probably you. I think you're very much an encourager. I can see you going to Adam and being like, hey, thanks. Like, you're always positive and encouraging. I'm more like, hey, I expect you to do it. I do it. You can do it too. Like, I have a completely different.
But you know what's funny? Adam's like, you don't have to thank me. And I actually get on his nerves by thanking him.
Really?
Like, yes.
See, I knew you were one of those kind. I need to take some of that.
There we go.
I think Mike would appreciate it if I actually said that more often. But he feels like me not saying it. He feels like if I don't say it, it means I don't feel it. And I'm like, that's not true. You know, like, I do appreciate it. But.
Definitely. So then, what has quarantining with your husband really taught you about yourself?
I think I've learned for myself that I learned for me that it is important for me to have moments where I can just, how am I trying to word this? But like, I need to be able to have a moment to myself to just woo-saw, like I feel like when we're not in quarantine and he's at work and I'm doing my business all day and then have my girls all day, by the time he gets home, I haven't had a moment to just chill because it's like it's constant with all the girls. And so then with him, I'm real short and irritable by the end of the night. I have no more patience left. But now with this process, with me having some downtime, I find myself like happier and less like anal about some things, and things that would irritate me before I can smile again. Like I get so caught up being the wife and the worker and the mom that like who I was when we dated is kind of like a different person almost, like some of those quirks that he had that were funny and cute when we were dating. Now I'm like, can you stop? It's not funny. But now I find myself going back to that, like, okay, you're corny, you are cute. Because I'm not so stressed, I think. I think the importance of that was me being forced to have this downtime. And so I think that's what I learned is like, I need to make sure that I make myself a priority and make sure that I give myself time to do whatever it is that I do to collect myself.
Yes, I totally agree. I think, having this time to rest, especially as like moms and wives, it's so important.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're just
it's
constantly
really
on the
healing.
go and on the go. Yeah.
Right. More self-care.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So now what is the hardest thing about raising 5 girls?
Oh, the bickering and the whining, and all they do is like instigate each other. Like, oh my goodness. It's like all of them too. Like, well, Kaylin, okay, so Kaylin's like 14, so she's much older than the rest of them, but she's also at that point where she's 14. And you never know if she wants to be bothered or if she doesn't want to be bothered because she's really moody. So some mornings she's like wakes up, she's like, hi Jordan, hi Kendall. Another morning she wakes up, she's like, move. And I'm like, they didn't even do anything. So you have to do like, the teen and the hormones and all of that. And then you have Jordan, who's 7 and thinks she knows everything. So she's constantly telling Kendall, who's 5, it doesn't go like that. It's not like this. No, you do it like this. No, you say it like this. And then Kendall, stop telling me, Jordan. And then she whines. And I'm like, oh my gosh. They just do this like all the time. Like they have their moments where they're just like, oh, I love you. And they play together so well and they just have fun. And then 2 minutes later, they're arguing about dumb stuff. Like, why is she looking at me? I don't want her to look at me. Oh my goodness.
I get that.
That's tough. And whining is like I have like this much tolerance and patience for whining. I can't. Can you please stop whining? Just use a regular voice. I can't. Ugh.
Yeah. So which girl is most like you, would you say? And then who's most like Mike?
It's funny. I don't know. Like I feel like they all have a good balance, and they all have a lot that they take from me that I see like, oh, you probably got that from me, and then a lot from Mike. And I think like, two common ones. I think all of them tend to have a stubborn streak. My girls are stubborn, and I think they get that from me. Yeah, you're right. They get that from me. I'm very stubborn as well. And Jordan for sure has her smart mouth. Like I grew up, I got in trouble for my mouth growing up. I remember one time I called my mom a liar. She backhand, and I was like, never do that again. But like I was just smart. I just always had something smart to say, and that's Jordan. Every time we turn around, she has something to say, and I'm like, and I want to like get mad at her, and I'm like, that's so me. Like she's so my child. Like, but then I think for Mike grew up the only child, so he's used to being by himself and like entertaining himself. And I think the girls, all of them, have a little bit of that. And then like, there's times where they play together, and then there's times where you're just like, where's Kendall? And Kendall's in a completely different room with the door closed, doing her own thing. Like they're all quite fine playing by themselves at times. And I think for me, like I think I could play by myself, but I never really had the opportunity. Like I grew up with 3 brothers, so like I never had me time.
Right.
I mean, I could have found it. Like Adam was very much a solitary person. Like he was like the person like, where's Adam? He's in the closet, in the toy chest, hiding inside, doing his own thing. Like he liked to be alone, and I feel like I liked to be with people, and so I think they get that from Mike, just the ability to entertain themselves and be by themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. So, what do you wish for your girls?
I just wish for them to be happy and confident in who they are, and not afraid to try things, to vocalize their opinions. I want them to know that they are important, and they're intelligent, and they don't have to hide that or like try to dumb it down to make other people feel better about themselves. Like don't go around being arrogant. I'm not saying that, but like there's a fine balance. Like don't make yourself dumbed down either. So I want them just to be confident in who they are, and I want to have a good relationship with them where they feel like yes, she's my mom, but she's also somebody who I trust. Um, and like I feel like that's like the balance I'm trying to find with Kaylin right now, being like a teenager. Like I know there's a lot of like peer pressure out there. Excuse me. And I know like there's things that like she's probably interested in or interested in exploring, whether it be like, sexually or the drug scene or, all these things that people are starting to be exposed to in high school. I know that time is here with her. And so I'm like, I want her to know like, yes, I'm mom, but I still like, I would rather you come to me and say, hey, can we talk about this, as opposed to feeling like you can't come to me and then I find out some other kind of way, like, so I'm trying to find that good balance of like, you can trust me and, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, like I know like one thing, she just got a phone for her birthday. Well, she had a phone for her 13th birthday, but it was like one of those old school flip phones that she never used because she was embarrassed by it. But her 14th birthday, she got an iPhone, and she has a password on it. But we have access to her passwords and everything like that. And I remember having like the conversation with Mike, like if I was gonna ever look through her phone since I have the password, and he was like saying, well, I think you should, and if you find something in there that you shouldn't find, then you should say to her, hey, I went through your phone and I saw this and this. And that was like one of the debates that we were having. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like I probably, will look through her phone because I wanted to make sure that she's not in anything she's not supposed to be in. But I think for me, that balance is trying to find a way to bring it up in conversation where she's like, I don't want her to know that I'm going through her phone, so to speak. Because, like I feel like if she knows I'm intentionally snooping, she's not going to trust me. And then when a situation does come up, she's not going to want to come to me. And I want there to be that line where she knows, like, yeah, I'm aware of what you're talking about, but you can still not feel like I can't go to my mom, I'm getting in trouble, or like I want there to be that good balance. So I just don't want her to get caught up in anything bad and not know who to talk to, because I shut myself off as that person that she can come to. So
Yeah. So why praise dancing?
I got into praise dancing kind of by a fluke, really. Like I grew up dancing, right? I was a gymnast for many years, and then I was a cheerleader, and I was on my high school dance team. So I've always danced. And then when I moved from where I grew up, where I grew up, San Luis Obispo. You're very familiar with the area. There's not like praise dancing is not like big on the scene, and so I'm talking 20 something years ago. Especially, I mean, even now it's not big. So 20 years ago, it was like you never saw it. And when I moved from there and I came to the Bay Area, and then I actually saw like praise dancing, I'm like, oh, this is cool. And the church I was going to had a praise dance team, and some of my friends were on it. So I started dancing because I liked my church, I liked dance, and my friends were there. So like it started as like a social thing for me. Like, cool, I'm hanging out with my friends. We're cool. And then it was like a concert that my church was having. We were preparing for the concert, and we had a guest dancer come and dance, and she was like, powerful. Like it was an experience I still to this date have not had an equal encounter. Like it's when she was done dancing, I was face flat on the ground. I mean, the snot dripping, just, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, it was crazy. Like I said, I had never experienced the presence of God like that ever. And then to have it come through someone's dance, this really made me realize, like, wow, like, we can actually be powerful tools, like powerful instruments for God just through our dance. So then that's when I kind of started to take it more seriously and really, do it for real. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. And to have like such an experience, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
it was crazy.
then like how do you pick your music, the songs that you dance to?
Well, I listen to like a lot of gospel music just on the regular. Like I think oftentimes my Pandora is either on Travis Green or it's on 90s R&B. So like I think just listening to a lot of the music, I get, I hear new songs, and sometimes I'm like, oh, what was that song? And like I'll just, every now and then you have that song that you're like, whoa, like I am that really like spoke to me, or like I really was, feeling that, and then I keep listening to it over, and I get the lyrics in my spirit, and I'm like, okay. So sometimes it's just songs that I like that are just been on my heart that I keep listening to over and over and over for various reasons. Sometimes I pick a song based on what I'm dancing for. Like if I'm dancing at a church anniversary, it's more of a celebration, so I'm going to look for more of a celebratory song. So it kind of like depends on really what I'm looking for. Sometimes I intentionally seek songs, but most of the time, their songs are just songs that have just been like on my heart, or I hear it on the radio or somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that was a powerful song. Let me pull that one back.
Yeah. And since like each song, each performance that you do is super powerful and meaningful to you, what's your favorite performance that you've done?
I would say two. There's two. I would say two. One, I think, is one of my favorites because I feel like I have had the ability to reach a lot of people through that dance. It's one that I've done a couple of times, and I feel like every time I do it, I have people who experience like, well, from my perspective, I'm like, wow, I feel like it was really touching them. I see the tears. I see, when I'm done, they say, I'll get, people will come to me and they'll say things like, you really blessed me, or that was really, and I feel like that's a compliment I'm looking for, as opposed to like, oh, you dance nice. Okay, I'm like, oh, thank you, but I'm not here to dance nice. I wanted you to get a message. So like, there's one that dance that I do that's to Shekinah Glory's Yes. And I feel like every time I've done that, when people are like, dude, like they're just like, I feel like you were talking to me. Like, I feel like God's calling me to do this. And I'm like, that is what my goal is, to actually speak to people. So I feel like that is one of my favorites because of the ability to actually speak and reach people. And then for me personally, right, I think one of my favorites was when I danced, it was Donnie McClurkin's I'll Trust You, Lord. And I think that one was big for me because I did that one maybe 2 months after Mike and I miscarried. And I think when we had the miscarriage, it was hard for Mike because this was going to be his first child. Like I already had Kaylin, right, prior to me meeting Mike. And then when we got pregnant and then we lost it, he was like, well, what does this mean? Like, are we not supposed to have kids? Or like, he really took it like God was trying to say something. I mean, sometimes, like obviously God does speak to us through situations, and sometimes just things just happen. But he took it as one of those, like, is God telling us that this isn't for us? Like, like he had a hard time. So it was really going through a situation and being like, just trust him. Like, there was a reason. Like, we may not understand why this happened, but there was a reason why this happened. So just, the whole dance was about my miscarriage. And like, even some of my dance moves were about, like, I did a dance move where I was like rocking a baby and then it just kind of dropped. Like, it was like the whole dance was interpretive of our experience. And I think that was really touching to me, to be able to take my experience and put it into movement, and movement that meant something to me, but meant something different to other people. Like, other people were, touched by it, and they may not have ever experienced a miscarriage, but it was just the feeling of loss and feeling like, did God leave me, or did he betray me? What's going on? And then being like, at the end of the day, like, regardless of what the situation is, I'm going to continue to trust you. And I think, that was really powerful for me. And it was like the first time, like, I actually, in the middle of my dance, I started like shouting. I think I spoke in tongues. I mean, that wasn't the first time that happened, but it was the first time it happened in my Baptist church. Like, at the Baptist church, you don't see that too often. So I was always kind of sheltered when I dance. Like, don't get too loud because these Southern Baptist folks are going to think something's crazy. But that was like the first time I kind of just let free and was like, no, this is me. This is my worship. This is my story. here, take it or leave it. And, I think it was great.
Right, definitely. And I think I witnessed both of those performances, and I was definitely touched by the spirit. So you definitely have a ministry, and I thank you for
Amen.
sharing that with everyone else. Okay, but so what made you open your preschool?
So, I actually know that I wanted to have like a school for a long time. It's kind of always been my goal. But my original plan was kind of like going like this to get to the end goal. I was like, I remember, I don't know if I was married to Mike or if we were dating at the time. I don't remember, but we had took a trip to Napa, and we were walking through some winery, and I remember saying, like, we were talking. I mean, we must have been dating because we were talking about our plans. I feel like by marriage we kind of already had that talk, so we must have been dating. But I remember saying, like, well, I'm gonna get, my teaching credential, and I'm gonna teach in elementary school for a couple of years, and then I'm gonna get my administrative credential, then I'm gonna be a principal, and then I'm gonna do that for a couple of years, and then when I'm like 40, 45, I'm gonna retire from that, and then I'm gonna open my own preschool. Like, I had this whole, like this, and he was like, well, if your end goal is to have your own school, why don't you just do that? Like, why are you doing all of this and then this and then this and then this? And I was kind of like, I don't know. And I think a part of it was like fear. But I was like, I don't know. So then I think at that point I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something I could work towards. So from that moment, I kind of changed gears. Like, I still went and got my master's, but instead of doing the credential aspect, I just focused on early childhood. I kind of started to work towards it at that point. And then it was still like in the back of my head, something I wanted to do. And I pictured it happening later on in life. Like, I wanted to gain more experience. Like, I had a lot of experiences in the teaching field, but I didn't have a lot of administrative experience. So I kind of felt like I want to move my way up at a preschool so I can really get my hands dirty with that first and then start my own. But then we started having kids, and then it got to the point where it's like, with the preschool I was working at the time, like, we didn't take infants. They started at 2. So I'm like, well, we're going to have 2 kids going someplace else while I'm coming to work here. And what I'm making here is barely going to cover the daycare expenses here. Like, what is the point? Like, we might as well just start doing this now and seeing what happens. So that was in 2015 when I first opened.
Wow. It's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years. It kind of doesn't feel like it because when I first got licensed in 2015, it was our home in Hayward. And I got licensed in June of 2015. And then from June of 2015 to January of 2016, which is when we moved here, I only had 1 kid enrolled the whole time. So it was Jordan and this girl named Sophia, and that was it. So I kind of feel like, does that even count as a school? Like, so it kind of didn't really feel real until I moved out to where I'm at now, and then we kind of grew from there. So, but yeah, it's been 5 years.
Aspire Christian Preschool.
Yes, ma'am.
Still kicking. I love it. So, what is the biggest gift that you would say you've received from the kids that you teach?
I think I was gonna say my mind just switched when I thought of something that happened last week. But it kind of ties into the same thing. I think what it is I really love, the biggest gift for me is the relationships that I build with the kids. Like, I love when they're like, especially now, okay, now we're in quarantine and we can't see them all. So we're all doing everything virtual. And when like they're, hi, Miss Jesslynn, I miss you, Miss Jess. And I'm like, I love you too. I miss you too. Like, it's so sweet. I know kids say it all the time anyways. And, sometimes they just be saying it just because, I love you, Mom. Like, they just say it. But it's still really touching, And I think what happened last week, right? A lot of the kids who are enrolled in my daycare, we all live within like 2 to 3 blocks from one another in our little neighborhood. And I was on a walk, and I was walking, and I passed one of the kids' houses, and the dad was coming outside to walk the dog, and so he stopped, and I talked to him for a minute, and then the daughter comes out and was like, "Who are you talking to?" And he goes, "Oh, it's Miss Jesslynn." And we've all been like, maintaining the 6 feet distance or whatever. And she sees me, and she comes running down the driveway, and she like wraps her arms around me, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, and I just like squeeze her so tight, and then out comes our
Aw.
little brother. He's in his pull-up and nothing else, just a pull-up. He comes running down the driveway, and I scoop him up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then, the dad was like, we don't worry about social distancing at Aspire Christian Preschool. We just love everybody. I said, we do love everybody. Like, it's like
Yes.
so hard for us to be apart, but that's what I love is like, just building that relationship with them and like hugging on them and loving them and being able to like teach them about God. And, like I love when like I ask a question about something, and like there's one day we were doing our morning meeting. We're talking about how we can pray to God for things, and we're like, God can heal. He can heal you when you're sick. And we had like 2 friends out who were out sick that day, and their friends were like, yeah, I think we should pray right now for Zoe, and we should pray for, and they wanted to pray for their friends who were sick. And I was like, those are like the moments that mean like that is so sweet, how you are just thinking about your friends and you're loving on them and you want to pray for them. And I like love being able to be an influence of that, so like that's totally rewarding feeling.
That's awesome. See, okay. And how does your hubby show support for your like entrepreneurial?
Oh gosh, he's like crazy supportive, really. I mean, he works with us, not like in the room with the kids, but he's my finance guy, so he maintains my budget. He handles all staffing situations. He does the payroll. He does all the HR stuff. Like he does all of that behind the scenes stuff.
Oh wow.
On top of doing his job, like he does all of that, and he's always like, like let's talk about this. He actually brings things up to me sometimes like before I even think about it. He's like, oh, we should probably start thinking about what it's gonna look like when quarantine is over. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, he's like telling me, where are you going next with the business? He's always trying to be like, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Are you gonna fill this spot? Like, put out a flyer and I'll promote it. Do this, do that. And and I think like since the time I've been open, like I've been out of work, like let's see, twice for having a baby and then twice for being hospitalized. And each of those 4 times I was out of work for roughly a month. And during that time, he handled all scheduling with my staff. Like he was like calling them all, can you come in at this time? Can you come in at this time? Can you cover here? Like he did everything. Like I was in the hospital, I couldn't do anything. So he kept it open. He handled it all. Like he figured out, like I said, he figured out scheduling and everything. And I was like, cool. Like he was picking up the after school kids from school. He was doing it all. So, and he was still working. So I'm like, I don't know how he did it, but he's very supportive. He'll find a way to help out. Like,
wow, that's so
beyond
awesome.
what I can imagine. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and those are like the important parts of helping. So,
right.
Good job, Mike.
Yes, good job.
Okay, so what is like the hardest part of owning your own business, though?
I think just being the boss. Like, I'm such a laid back, chill person. I'm non-confrontational. I'm very open to like ideas, and that it's hard for me to sometimes close that window a little bit and actually say like, no, I'm the boss, it's going to be this way. Sometimes like if I want to with my staff, if I want to do something, they're like, oh, well, I have an idea, what if we try this way? I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like sometimes I feel like as the boss, I should say, no, it's going to be like this, or this is what the new rule is going to be, or this is what this is going to be. And I have a hard time sometimes doing that. And I think, again, like I said, I'm non-confrontational. So sometimes I have a hard time having to have those difficult conversations. Like, you've come in late 3 times this week. Like there's those conversations that I'm like, I'm very like casual. I'm more like, you're a little late. I know traffic. I know, huh? Can you, like I try to say it in like a nice way. I can't like step into my office and be like, hey, you've been late. This is warning 1. Warning 2, like I'm not that person. So like that's hard for me to try to be the coworker and the friend and the boss, like at the same time. And I think, yeah, that's hard. And it's hard just being like the main one responsible for everything. Like, I feel like when I worked at a preschool, like if I had to tell a parent something difficult, I could always go back to like, hey, this is the rules of the school, or like, the director said I have to do it like this. I am the director. I am the school.
Right.
So now I'm like, every time I have to say something to a parent, I'm like, it's nobody else telling me to tell you this. This is me. Like, I feel this way. And like, that's hard sometimes. So
Right.
I'm
The
trying to,
authority.
yeah, the authority. I got to pull up my big girl panties sometimes and just do it. And I think like that's the hard thing for me, but
Yeah.
comes with the job, I guess.
That's hard for me too. So I completely relate there. Okay. So what's next with the virtual learning? Is it going to stay, continue after quarantine? What are we thinking?
I know.
What are we
I'm
thinking?
really, I'm trying to brainstorm it all, like I really enjoyed this time, like doing the virtual aspect. I think what I love most about it is being able to reach people who I can't generally reach. Like, I love being able to see Lincoln and Levi and Lily. Like, there's no way I could ever work with them. You guys are in Atlanta, and I'm in California. So I'm like, I have, friends whose kids are logging on and they live in LA, and like just like all over kids I would never really have the opportunity to do anything with. And I love that. I love being able to, like reach other people. But I'm really struggling trying to figure out how I can keep that aspect going, because I feel like once quarantine is over, parents are going to go back to work and kids are going to go to childcare, and who's going to be there to log them on, and who am I actually going to be teaching to? Nobody. Like, they're going to be back in school and parents are going to, so I'm kind of like, I don't know how that's going to work. Like, maybe I can still do something that caters to like homeschooled kids. I'm trying to fart around with it, but it's hard because like even with trying to do something with homeschool kids, like I'm still gonna have a house full of kids here because I'm gonna open back up. So I'm like, well, how do I pull myself aside to do virtual learning when I'm still having a classroom of kids here? Like, how is that gonna look? Do I hire somebody just for those kids that I can do virtual learning? Like, it's a lot that I'm trying to play around with. So I really don't know what's next, but I am trying to figure out a way to keep some aspect of this going, because I think it's been really nice. And I think a lot of, the kids like have met new friends. Like, we log on Zoom and Kendall's like, where's Zahir? She's never met him before a day in her life, but like she knows him through our virtual classes. Like we're looking for friends who we don't even know. Like, hey,
That's
where's
so
Haley?
funny.
You don't know Haley, like. But we're there.
But so are your schools still out until summer, or because they are here?
Yeah, schools are out till summer. I think there's been talk of like starting back in July, like going back earlier and for fall as opposed to coming back in like August or whatever. They're talking about going back in July. I don't really know, but I know like our school, right in our school district, in Oakley School District, they go back in July anyway. So I'm like, I don't know if they're talking about early July, because like our school district right now, they start July 27th or July 26th or whatever. So it's already a summer start date. But
Oh, wow.
I don't know. So I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna make that
Like,
everywhere, and they are gonna go back in summer. I think there's still a lot of like figuring out what's gonna happen and what it's gonna look like. I know my friend in LA was saying that they were talking about going back, but when they start back in school, like doing like a hybrid, like some of it is on campus and some of it's done at home. Like, I hadn't heard that idea. Like, I don't really know what they're gonna do, but I don't know. I don't really know. I heard like if they go back, one idea was like, they're gonna make sure like the desks are all 6 feet apart and all of their lunches are done in their classroom instead of the cafeteria, and they can no longer have assemblies and field trips. I'm like, what's the point of school? Like, you're taking away all the socialization of school, and that's a big part of the learning. Like, those like, the math skills and all that, sure, but a big part, especially when you're talking about kindergarten through like 3rd grade, like that socialization and learning how to work with people and how to communicate with people, and like that is such an important tool that they're going to be now missing out on. Like, why go to school if I can't even sit and work with my friend?
Like, seriously, it's really weird right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I know that you've continued one more month of your virtual learning though, right?
Yeah, I have. We start Monday with new month of classes. Yep. I tried to pull some of the ones that were like the most popular from our first session, and then I kind of try to throw in some new ones as well, change it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like that we can join. Like you said, we're from Atlanta, you're in California. My kids love it.
Good. I love
So,
it. I love having him.
well, you know, we're signing up for another month. I enjoy the quiet time when they're learning.
Right. I know. Like, this funny is because like in one of the classes, like I always try to say like how should I structure the curriculum? You know, like should I set it up so that like parents can set their kids up and then walk away, or do they have to be here? You know, and I think like with last session's cooking, I try to do like no bake cooking so they wouldn't have to deal with anything hot. So like if the parents wanted to use that time as like you got 45 minutes to yourself, then you could. But then I noticed like a lot of the parents were still very much involved anyways. Like I always saw you there stirring right there with them.
Right.
Like all the parents were still there. So I'm like, okay. But I think in the morning, like my morning class, I've noticed that a lot of parents are like, here you go, and I'm out. Like I'm about to go do whatever. I see parents work out. I saw one mom the other day came walking through the living room. She was like in her robe. And I was like, we see you, Mom. Like
Oh my gosh.
you just got
That's
the
so
shower.
funny.
Yeah, I know. It's fun.
That's funny. Yeah, mine is because I don't trust my kids.
Yeah.
I'd be like, if there's any mess, it's because I wasn't watching y'all cooking.
Right. This is like what I love about being able to see them and keeping such small groups. I can interact with them. I like to call them out. Like I'm, teaching a class and I say, look, Levi, what are you doing to Lincoln? Leave him alone. You get in your own seat. Let's keep going. Like I'm teaching my class. Is that here? Are you supposed to be dancing on the table? I don't think so. Get down. Like I'm like calling people out. I did it one time to one of the kids. I think she was drawing something. She had the crayon like in her mouth. And I was like, I don't think you're supposed to be eating the crayon. It's not food. And she was like this. And like turned behind like, did my mom hear? And I was like, I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but I'm also like,
I see you.
Watching you. Yeah, I see you. Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. All right. So our final question before we get into a very quick fun game. What is one word of advice you would give to quarantining couples?
I would say one word of advice would be to really like cherish the time and make it a point to take advantage of the fact that you're both forced to be in this space together, because like I think once you go back into real world, it's back to work and grocery stores and running errands and doing this, and you get so caught up going back into what life looks like that sometimes it's like the time that you guys have together isn't always there. You have to fight to make it happen, and I mean I know personally that's with Mike and I, our schedules are completely opposite. Like he gets home from work late and falls straight to sleep, and I'm up cleaning the house for the next day, doing what I do, and then he gets up 4:00 in the morning, finishes his work, and leaves to work before I even wake up. So I'm like, sometimes like we go without even like, we see each other, but we can't really interact with one another because we're so much like, hey, good morning, I'm on my way out. Like, it's like we don't have that time. So I think just really saying, hey, this is God's way of saying, slow down, like, look at what you have and be thankful for it and really, take advantage of this time. So that's what I would say. Just like, and with your kids. I mean, if you have kids, same thing. You think once this goes back, you're going to send your kids off to school or daycare or whatever, and you're going to not see them again all day while you're at work or at school or whatever you do as a parent. Like now we're home with our kids. Like do those things that you always say, oh, I wish I was a mom who could bake with my kids. Bake. Like this is the time to do all of that,
Yeah, that's so true. Well, thank you for that word of advice.
Yes, of course.
All right, so we have a fun game. It's going to be really quick, I promise.
All right.
It's called the 5-item game, and yes, I named it myself. So
love it.
The kids actually helped me make my list of 5 items. So we can just go one at a time. Whoever wants to go first, we're just going to challenge each other to grab an item off of the list.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm nervous about what you have for me. All right.
Okay.
All right, am I going first?
Totally up to you.
All right.
I think you're older than me, so technically.
Yeah, you think? I'm probably quite a few years older than you. All right, I got you. Your first item is a bobby pin.
Oh shoot. Okay, you got to count me down 5 seconds.
Okay, 5, 4, 3,
Oh,
2, 1.
there's one in my hair.
It's funny because when I
swear.
said, I was like, she's gonna pull one out of her hair. I know it.
I looked. I couldn't find it. Darn. Okay, that's 1 point for you.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so hopefully you can find a box of some sort. 1, wait, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that is definitely
A giant box of diapers.
that counts. That counts.
All right. Item 2, a quarter.
Ah, shoot. Let me see. Okay.
5,
Oh,
4, 3, 2, 1.
nope. Nope.
Yeah, you're 0 for 2, Alicia. You're not very good at this game.
There's a couch right here. There's got to be a quarter.
There's
No,
something
no
in there.
quarters.
I was gonna say penny, but I'm like, a penny's probably easy to find. You probably have pennies floating around everywhere.
Okay, so yep, you're winning. Okay, number 2, I have a piece of food.
A piece of food?
Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know what? Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. In the room that I'm in right now, I have a bag of candy hidden from the kids right there in the closet. Why did I think of that? Oh, man.
It's still 2-0
Okay.
though.
All right. Okay. Item 3 is a pencil, not a pen.
Okay.
A pencil.
Shoot.
5,
Ah,
4,
no.
3,
You said
2,
a
1.
pen, right?
A pencil. I'm already counting down. So even if you find a pencil, you have lost. Is that a marker and a pen? Still not even what I asked.
Shoot. You see why I always lose the trivia game? Okay. Number 4. Oh my gosh. Number 3, I have a toy of some sort.
Gotcha.
Okay, 5.
I don't even have to go anywhere for that. Bam.
I should have known. But see, it depends on the room you're in, right?
That is true. Well, actually, let me think. I'm pretty confident that in every single room of this house, I could have found a toy, even the laundry room. There's probably a toy on the floor in the laundry room. The bathroom's gonna have bath toys. Like, I'm pretty sure that I would have been able to still accomplish that one. That's what happens when you have a house full of kids. There's toys everywhere. All right. Item 4 is a plant or flower of some type.
Okay.
5,
Let's see.
4. It could be fake. 3,
Well,
2. Are you back with nothing? Oh,
like it's dead.
so dead. But
Oh
you
my
got
God.
it. It counts. It counts.
Yeah,
It is so dead, but it counts.
1 point.
1 point.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Item number 4 I have for you is a mask.
Oh, wait. I
5,
have to stay in the room, huh?
4,
I have masks, but not in this room. I don't think. Wait.
2. Meh. See, I told you it depends on the room you're in. Is that a diaper?
Yes. I don't have one in this room. Man. And I have masks too. Darn.
That is so funny. Well, it's still 3-1.
Okay. All right. Number 4 is this 4 or 5?
This is number 5.
This is number 5. Okay.
Final
Number 5
item.
for you is a book. A book.
Okay.
She's like, gotcha. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back. All right. Oh, what you reading?
Well, I was reading it until my kids somehow got it wet, but it is More Than Pretty.
Oh, is that
by
it?
Erica.
Oh, yeah. Erica Campbell. Oh, I didn't know she had a book. Okay.
Yeah, I like it. Well, liked it.
Right.
Okay, and I guess number 5 I had for you is a piece of clothing that belongs to the youngest.
The youngest.
5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2.
Yes. I had to check the size. I'm like,
Yes.
I got it. It's an 18-month jacket.
Oh, that is too cute. All right. Well, I think you won.
I clearly won. Yeah.
You have 4 to my 2.
But you know what? It doesn't help that like the room I'm in right now, I'm in the process of cleaning it out. So I pulled things out the closet. I pulled things. So I have a lot of stuff in this room.
Oh, so you cheated.
I did. I cheated a little.
Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank you so much, Jesslynn, for being my co-host tonight and for sharing your stories with us. I know that
Thank you for having me, Alicia. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yay. Well, you always encourage me, and I hope that, your story has encouraged someone else out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated.
All right, everyone. Well, that's all we have. Check out next week is Mother's Day, so we'll be doing a Mother's Day special podcast for Wives in Real Life, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.
Hey, I hope you have a great Mother's Day next week, too.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Mm-hmm.
Wives in real life. Real. Wives in real life.
So
Real talk. Real times. Because the wives in real life.
Yes.
Wives in real